Starting on Tuesday, that's tomorrow, New York City will be putting a curfew on some of the migrant shelters that are in the city, and this is coming after local residents are complaining about panhandling, crime, loitering late at night. So the curfew will be from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. And to be honest, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't already have a curfew. Most shelters have curfews. That's why a lot of homeless people don't want to go to shelters, because they have curfews. Anyway, here's a news clip on that.
News on the asylum seeker crisis in New York City. Starting Tuesday, the city will impose a curfew on 1,900 migrants staying at 4 centers. The locations are in Queens, Manhattan, and Brooklyn. Migrants will need to be there between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. Anyone who breaks the curfew 3 times in a 30-day period could...
What he was saying before I rudely cut him off is that if you violate this 3 times within 30 days, you will be kicked out of the shelter. And I do have to say again, I'm shocked. This is to me a kind of a failure of a city that this wasn't a rule in the first place. I think that just slipped through the cracks because most shelters, they have a curfew. Obviously, you're exempt if you're coming from work or school, the same in the situation with the migrants. But here is a clip of a local councilwoman who is discussing her constituents actually complaining about people coming and panhandling at their door.
Councilwoman Joanna Ariola met with the Adams administration last week about concerns within her district.
Yeah, my constituents are terrified. They have people that they don't know at their doorbell. They usually have a child with them. They have their telephone, their iPhone, and on it says in English, "I'm a migrant from Floyd Bennett Field. Please give..."
Man, I'm really good at cutting those videos off, aren't I? They were asking for money, essentially. And this is actually ring footage. So this was shared by Viral News NYC, and this is in Queens. So this is one of the areas where they're putting a curfew on the migrants. But you see a mom and her child going on this person's porch asking for money. You see she'll put her phone up in a second. It's translating. So it's probably similar. In the longer version of that last video I played you the ring camera footage. You can actually see, and the woman that sent that footage in said after they knocked on the door, they actually went and she could see them attempting to open up cars while they were walking away on the street. And here's some more footage. This is next to Floyd Bennett Field as well. So it looks like a lot of people are coming from there. And you see people going up to residents' homes. Now, this man over here that you see opening up his door, he actually talked to the news and said, you know, it's intimidating because sometimes you'll see groups of them come together. It's not just mothers with their children or one person or a family. Sometimes you'll see a group of a few guys coming to people's homes and asking for money. And you can imagine how intimidating that is, especially if you're not used to that in your neighborhood. These aren't people just asking for money on the side of the streets. They're actually going up to homes and asking for money. I think it's good that they're implementing this rule, and I'm a little bit shocked it wasn't implemented already. I feel like this is pretty standard practice for any shelter of any kind, but it is a good thing. I also think what they really need to do is start enforcing quality of life laws. Now, they already are starting to do this in New York City. There is a huge issue on Brooklyn Bridge with illegal vendors, so vendors that don't have licensing and just selling all kinds of goods on the bridge. It got to the point where it felt unsafe to even go across the bridge, but thankfully they cleared that out. But I do think they need to start implementing more laws like street things, loitering, just all of those quality of life laws, because you're importing a lot of people from a different country with a different culture. You are teaching them how we do things in the United States. And when you're letting them get away with things that typically we're not used to letting people get away with, you're showing them that this is how we do things in the United States. So I'm glad that they're implementing the curfew. I think they need to up the ante and start implementing more quality of life rules, laws, so that you tell people this is how we do things in the United States. Because if you're letting them get away with, going and knocking on doors, panhandling, not having certain license for selling goods, other things like that, you're showing them that, yeah, you can get away with things like that in this country. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.